Alright, so there's a new Warno slash Broken Arrow killer. Probably a Broken Arrow killer because it's modern times on the block. It's called Systemic War by a company called Play of Battle. And it's getting multiplayer. That's the big deal, the big thing. So I actually have covered this game before when it was only single player, September 17th, 2025. It had a demo, and I'll link it in the description. It's pretty interesting. I mean, it works just like one on Broken Arrow, right? You get the labels for the units. It's made by some Polish people, so you've had French bias, and then you've had Russian bias, and now you're gonna get Polish bias. Polish bias should be interesting. I assume most things will be okay, but all the Russian units will just be crap. But yeah, it's got some interesting units and stuff. So it's basically modern times Poland versus Russia, essentially. And the modern Polish army procurement's really interesting. So they've got like a bunch of Korean stuff, so K2 howitzers, and I think the tank is the K1. But then they also have a bunch of old Soviet or Warsaw Pact stuff. Like they still field the BMP-1, so that's interesting. And they've, Abrams and stuff are in the game. And it was single player only, and everybody was very molding about that. And now it's got multiplayer, although I'm not sure what's going on here. So I would like to cover this game more as more updates come out. And I'll show you the multiplayer thing. It's got a date associated with it as well. So, Poland versus Russia. Those look like Leclerc MSCs, but obviously probably isn't that. So, hang on. We should probably... Well, it's just about to end. So, RTS multiplayer demo, August 15th, 2026. There's going to be a multiplayer demo, so I'll see you there. I'm not here from the 10th to the 18th. So that's annoying, but I guess I'll get it on the 18th, the 19th, So yeah, Poland versus Russia. Polska Górom, as they say. And in terms of what tanks are these, I guess these are the M1A ones. The LOS tool in this game works really well, by the way. KA52, I remember that from playing it 9 months ago. Gosh, that was a long time ago. For me, anyway. See, I think that's an Abrams, but not 100%, because isn't that on they keep upgrading them and just adding more and more and more armor to the top. So, but it kind of looks like that. I mean, it might not be. It might be that South Korean tank, right? Looks like an Avenger Para, although might be more the Soviet one, right? Yeah, so it's like a Soviet ATGM launcher. I think that's a Broken Arrow, or it might be another Polish thing. So that is pretty cool. They've also said there's going to be a level editor, which is interesting. So map editor. Yeah, and then we got a couple more updates that I'll read out. And they say it's going to launch this year, which, well, I guess we'll see when the demo comes out, right? But essentially, there's like a strategic layer, which kind of reminded me of like a big Hoi 4 mod. Where there's like decisions you can take and stuff, so you can like sabotage Nord Stream, and the idea is that it's basically now, right? And it's like 5 years. Well, starts I guess 2018, and then or it start 2014. It's recent stuff, and it builds up to essentially a big war with Russia. But in the demo that I played, like Ukraine collapses in like 2 weeks, which I mean that's not what happened. So maybe it's not anti-Russian bias, right? And then yeah, you basically play as Poland and you're preparing your country for a war with Russia, and then when you fight, it zooms into the tactical map and so on. I'll be honest, I didn't really understand it. I was more interested in the actual battles, and I was upset that there was no multiplayer. But I think they've seen the success of Broken Arrow and the failure of Broken Arrow, and now they're trying to capitalize on it. So yeah, there I am in red. If you want to watch some gameplay, gosh, yeah, September 17th, 2025. My PhD final exam was in October, and at this point, I was absolutely convinced I was going to fail because my supervisors had prevented me from submitting my thesis. And look, I died in real life. Because they said it wasn't good enough. They kept saying it was bad. And so I was convinced I was going to fail, because eventually because they wouldn't really tell me what was wrong with it. Eventually I ran out of time, so I just went over their heads. I went to the university. I said, they're being balanced. Let me submit it, please. Not quite like that. Anyway, the exam was in October, and I passed easily, he said, within 5 minutes of me entering the room. I've read 7 theses recently, and this was the best one. That's what the examiner said. So that was cool. Anyway, so it works like Warno. So you get like anti-tank teams and stuff. The main thing that was different was that there actually is an EW component. So you can deploy drones to these areas. So like you would buy a drone and then you would click on the area. You wouldn't actually like right click on the drone. It's not a unit like this helicopter is. And then once you get a certain amount of drones in the area and the enemy can get like EW stuff, you get more and more vision on the units. I think. So yeah, I was like, well, it's okay playing against the AI, but you know, I want to play against a person, right? I think it's going to be a lot more interesting. And a lot of things in the game did work well. Although it looks like I'm actually talking over my own gameplay there as well. Interesting. Got to milk that content. But yeah, playing as Poland's interesting because you've got like a bunch of Western equipment and Eastern equipment and domestic equipment. So that was pretty cool. And then there's been some more updates. So I've not been following this for a while. So I figure I might as well just read these out. So which one's first? That's May, July. But yeah, multiplayer playtest. We are thrilled to announce that the first multiplayer playtest for Systemic War will launch on August 15th. This playtest will focus on our real-time tactical combat, allowing you to test your strategic skills in direct PvP engagements. Here's what you can expect. Command modern units. Alright, and it says drones and EW, like I was saying. Fight for focal points, clash with other players at real-world locations. Every engagement takes place on detailed maps, accurately recreated on a 1-to-1 scale, where capturing real-world bridges, cities, and choke points directly influences the larger strategic conflict. Test your tactical wits. Experience fast-paced RTS combat, where positioning, unit composition, and quick decision-making determine who controls the battlefield. This is our very first public multiplayer playtest, so expect things to be rough around the edges. You'll definitely encounter bugs and some connection hiccups. Participation is vital. And yeah, sorry, this was announced in May, but I've been busy shitposting about Broken Arrow. And then to 2026 look development. In Systemic War, capital letters, we're adding multiplayer new gameplay features, but we're also significantly improving the graphics. This is what one of the RTS maps looked like in the 2025 demo. There were a couple, I'll link them in the description, because this was one that I played, and I think there was a more recent one, where there was like more maps and stuff, because this was like a single scripted scenario. And there was one where I could play on the big board, you know, and do the Hoi 4 stuff. Honestly, that I didn't really vibe with at all, but the battles were okay. Yeah, okay, so they've upgraded the power plant, and now it's autumn. Great. I mean, I don't care about graphics really, as long as everything works, but I know a lot of people think it matters a lot. So that was the May update. We're almost there. June update, although this was posted in July. Expanding the grand strategy layer with military and civilian factories. So this is a bit more about this over-the-top layer. Honestly, it kind of reminded me of like a really in-depth Hoi 4 mod. During June, we expanded our production mechanics, such as the connection between civil and military factories. For example, each of these strategic resources for military production has its own production chain originating from the civil one. At the very bottom, you can see institute points, which also correspond to these 4 resource colors, and they will be pinned to produced equipment for strong production bonuses. Yeah, because I played it and there was no tutorial, but they had like a chat GPT thing in it that you could ask questions, and that I didn't really vibe with that at all. Like, it wasn't actually in the game, it was like in their Discord, and you would ask it stuff and it didn't know anything. It seems they've quietly abandoned that. So yeah, you have to make your own weapons and stuff, and it wasn't really clear to me. I'll admit I didn't put too much effort into it. I just sort of rushed the war and then got stomped. But yeah, you make your own weapons and then you put them in the battalions, and then the battalions fight like in Hoi 4, I suppose. Um, yeah, the brown points on the right are factories for specific armament groups. They assemble a given piece of equipment into a finished product. Okay. So you've actually got. So that's like a Polish version of the Igla, and then that's their Polish rifle. The PT-91 tank. It's like a Polish T something series tank. And then the Rosamac, which I think is a domestic IFE. I suppose it's all domestic. That's the point. You're making it in Poland. And so, okay, so you get resources. And what is that? You've got key mana, wrench mana, something else mana, and what is that? Circuits mana, and then you. Okay, so you want as many resources as possible, and then you use the factories to turn the resources into whatever. It's interesting. The small arms don't require resources. Well, I suppose in Hoi 4 you put like a couple factories on small arms, you end up with millions of them, right? It's just mainly about the vehicles and stuff. New vehicles joining our hangar. We finished a few of many upcoming vehicles models. The T-84 Oplot, which is Ukrainian. Okay. So it's based off a T-series tank, I suppose. Presumably a T-80 series tank. And then the BTR-4, which is another Ukrainian one. Because, yeah, the idea is that you can... They said for the map, you can click on any nation. But, like, I mean, do you want to play as... I'd say, do you want to play as Pakistan? As if that would be boring, but you know, obviously, the Pakistan is involved in a number of conflicts at the moment. What's a boring nation? Whatever. So that's the BTR-4, a Ukrainian. It kind of looks like the Polish one. I don't know. My knowledge of equipment is literally just Warno. So sorry, I was watching some not Warno. M1064 mortar carrier. We know the Minstrel. Sorry, that's the next one. So that is okay. So it's like what, based off an M113 chassis. So that probably is in Broken Arrow. I mean, oh, it probably is in Broken Arrow as well. It probably is in Warno. So the VBMRL Several Mistral. So that's a French manpads, although it can only be fired from a transport from a tripod. I'm sorry, I'm being very retarded today. So this must be a more modern French piece of equipment. So that begs the question. Obviously, the multiplayer playtest, it had a Polish flag and a Russian flag. So that's where the focus is. But then, you know, obviously there's the Ukrainian equipment in here. There's French equipment in here, and there's the M6 linebacker, which is a Bradley with stingers, which for whatever reason is not in Warno. Anyway, the environment team worked on optimization and visual upgrades of all maps in the RTS, so that this is the one from that video that I was showing you, I think. It's kind of hard to tell with the perspective. I don't see the river, actually, so maybe not. Although I remember Ostrowek. Anyway, it didn't run very well, so it's good that that's improving. We're expanding the RTS with a new generation of unmanned units, including reconnaissance drones and offensive strike platforms. Okay, so you get FPVs. Our work explores both lightweight quadcopter-style drones for close battlefield support, so FPVs, and larger fixed-wing UAVs designed for long-range operations, like I guess like the Shaheed or the Reaper, the American Reaper. Right, this looks a bit more like the American Reaper. At the same time, we are testing improvements to player-controlled spells. And I cast Fireball and introducing new tools aimed at making air units feel more dynamic, responsive, and impactful on the battlefield. So there were no planes when in the version I played. And there you go. So you can use your drones. I mean, to be honest, the fact that Broken Arrow is supposed to be modern war, but they started the development before the Ukraine war kicked off properly. I know people say it started in 2014 and so on and so on, but you know, the 2022 is when it went very loud. and then it rapidly became the case that, oh, actually Modern War is just drones. Well, obviously the other stuff's still there, but the kind of the standout feature of Modern War is you stand up and a drone hits you, and BA doesn't do that at all. BA is literally, imaginary war, essentially, where Patriots and S-400s intercept all incoming ballistic missiles, which is definitely not what they do in real life. Where it's mainly about just saturation attacks with as many drones as you can. So I think it's good that they have that they're doing that, right? It's going to be a bit more true to life, I suppose. Anyway, the other thing I forgot to mention is that there's actually two resources. So in Broken Arrow, you get just income, right? And in Warno, it's the same. You just get income. You spend it on a tank or whatever. In this game, intel is a resource, and expensive units cost intel. So I don't know if you can see this up here in the top left, but basically these are like small arms and recon and APCs, and they only cost supplies. I do recommend checking out the gameplay that I uploaded. Whereas anything expensive costs intel, and you get intel from what I was saying, where you put the drones in the sectors. Because the first few times I played it, I was like, what's going on? I can't afford anything. But yeah, that's because I'd skipped the tutorial because I'm an idiot. But if you put drones in the enemy sectors, you get intel, and then that helps you buy your tanks and stuff. So that is actually an interesting system, because like all of the Eugen games only have one resource. All the ones I've played. I assume maybe the older ones didn't. So yeah, that's really interesting. And then game performance optimization. Is that a word? All right. Well, I've learned something new today. So yeah, it didn't run that great, so it's good that they're making it run better. So I'm really looking forward to August 15th approximately, where we can play the multiplayer and get a real feel for this, because honestly, Broken Arrow is at like 20% positive reviews in the last 30 days. They've completely fumbled that, and it would be interesting to get, let's try Polish bias for a change. We've tried French bias, we tried Russian bias. Let's try some Polish bias. Anyway, do let me know what you think. Do you want me to keep covering this project? I assume so, and I'll see you around. Right, sorry, I checked their YouTube channel. I found another video about the drones, so I figure we might as well see this.
The modern battlefield is already being reshaped by autonomous systems and AI-powered drones, which are becoming a defining element of contemporary warfare. In our RTS simulation, players can observe a clash between two hostile AI systems, independently commanding all units participating in the battle. The system allows users to define operational objectives, such as holding a specific sector, and then analyze how AI executes its tasks while dynamically reacting to enemy actions.
Yeah, so basically, if you've played the demo, which is on the channel, you can control all the units yourself, or you can click on, because the map's divided into these sectors, and you click on the sector and you say, I want to allocate, high priority to this sector, and you let the AI do it. And you can say, I want lots of people, I want lots of, tanks or whatever. And in the demo I tried, it actually worked quite well.
Key element of the simulation is the ability to parameterize every aspect of military equipment,
to do it myself,
including drones, their speed, resistance to electronic warfare interference, and the number of platforms typically required to neutralize a specific type of enemy vehicle, such as a main battle tank. Units communicate with one another on the battlefield, share reconnaissance data in real time, and cooperate to eliminate hostile targets. Loitering.
Yeah, so large-string munitions, obviously, were basically missing from Broken Arrow. I mean, they said they might add some, right? But, I mean, they say they're going to do a lot of things. Modern War without drones. Broken Arrow is Modern War without drones. It's basically because they started development before the Ukraine war went hot. In 2022, I know the conflict's been going on since at least 2014. They started development before 2022, and so they made what they assumed a modern war would be, what most people, I guess, assumed a modern war would be, and then the war happened, and it turns out it's all about just, you know,
Munitions such
flying
as
drones
Warno
into
can be
people.
deployed against armored.
There you go, you've got hostile drones as well, right? You see them blowing up tanks and stuff, so it'll be interesting to see like how they're going to balance that, if there'll actually be a way to shoot them down, because like right now, the drones are pretty difficult to deal with, right? Because they're so cheap. Like, you can shoot them down if you try very hard, but they're really cheap and they're kind of hard to shoot down. I assume if they want the game to be fun, there'll be ways to counter them, and they won't be so effective in this.
Vehicles, while platforms like X-Fronter are used to disrupt enemy defenses and engage lighter targets.
So yeah, I guess just a showcase of drones in the new Broken Arrow killer, right? The new hopes and dreams. We go through this constantly, right? Oh, Warno's going to be the next big thing, and then oh, Broken Arrow is going to be the next big thing, and now Play of Battle or Systemic War is going to be the next big thing. I got to tell you, man. Hopefully these drones aren't like realistically cheap, basically, because can you imagine playing to that? What I have noticed is that there's no AA, right? There's not a bunch of shilkers here. I assume if there are shilkers, then the shilkers will. I'm trying to figure out if that's getting shot at. Something is shooting at this, so you know, hopefully, if there is AA, they'll be able to shoot it down. Either way, I did a video about the fact that there's gonna be a multiplayer playtest on the 15th of August, so hopefully that works out. Anyways, I'll see you around.